and here we have a typical conversation with one of the few friendly NPCs in Will to Live Online.
English, motherfucker! Do you speak it?
Yes! Really? Yes! Finally! Thank gosh! Okay, where do I go for this quest?
Oh yeah, eat that whole bread pudding, dude!
But I thought you... fucking bullshit. Oh, I'm so helpful, you know? Now, don't be too scared, guys, because the translation, like everything else in this game, is still a work in progress, as Will to Live Online is an early access title. The game plays like an FPS, but is classified as an MMORPG, offering an open world for you to explore and get brutally murdered in. There are hostile abominations, or just your day-to-day livestock roaming the lands for you to hunt and kill and cook, because eating radiated meat a day keeps the doctor really close, actually. You're gonna be going to this guy a lot, so remember his face. So, as always, my impressions videos are broken down into pros, cons, and neutrals, all of which are just my opinion. And I like to give these MMOs anywhere between 10 to 30 hours before forming together a video. I gave this one 9.5 hours, so let me explain why. Starting with pros. Screen tearing, frame rate drops, game crashes, horrible load times, the real shit. Thankfully, Will to Live says, fuck that trend, let's optimize up in this bitch. All hail our savior, Will to Live Online. For an early access title, hot damn, this game performs not like a potato, what the hell? It feels bizarre to tell you guys that this early access title is damn near flawless in terms of performance, considering how many full release titles on Steam can't even get this right. The load times aren't too bad, and while in game, I never get FPS drops and have always maintained a steady 60 to 70 FPS on max graphics. And this game's world is packed with some fairly nice looking foliage, so as sad as it is, in this era of gaming, I feel like a spoiled shit while playing this game because we all know early access and even full release performance issues are far too common in modern day games. So, good for you, Will to Live devs, for saying, screw that trend. Next pro is Will to Live Online's world, which is depressing, and I mean that in a good way. If the cocaine-fueled rats who have more acrobatic prowess than a Cirque du Soleil performer aren't bumming you out, then just take a look around you. You're in a bleak world with crabs that look as cute as the bunny in Monty Python's Holy Grail, but we all know what happened there.
Well, that's no ordinary rabbit. That's the most foul, cruel, and bad-tempered rodent you ever set eyes on.
You tit! Chop its head off. Right, silly little bleeder. One rabbit stew coming right up.
Look! Jesus Christ!
Top 5 most tragic movie scenes of all time. That bunny was just so horribly misunderstood. Will to Live's world is very reminiscent of games like DayZ and Stalker, not just because I can't rely on these signs to tell me which way to go, but also because of how eerie and desolate the landscape is. The only welcoming presence you'll feel is from the NPCs, who haven't seemed to have left their buildings in the past 20 years to realize, hey, the apocalypse happened. They just don't know. They don't know. Doc, your whole family and everyone you love is dead.
Hi, dude!
Oh my fucking gosh. For the areas you discover that aren't just trees and grass, you'll get the feeling that this world is hopeless of recovery, and all that is left for you is trying to seek out and scavenge whatever you can to survive this world of despair. And one too many rabid dogs.
Who let the dogs out?
Will to Live Online.
It's truly a creepy world, and you'll get an immediate sense of dread when it gets dark out. And it's like every creature and monster in this game was raised by parents who beat them if they made too much noise when they were kids. No, because I still have the imprint of a wooden spoon on my ass. Hashtag 90s kid, what? Well,
I'm gonna go kill this. I'm gonna go kill this guy.
No, don't leave me right now. Don't, hey.
Okay.
For your sake, of course.
I'm gonna go ask
Oh,
this.
fuck ass. Okay. That was close. Wait, Matt, should we keep our lights off?
Yeah, we should.
Gosh.
I can't see shit.
There's a guy right on top of me.
What?
There's a guy right on top of me.
No, then get away from me. Just walk the other way. What are you coming to me for?
Alright, I will guide you to the path of the giving.
What is that? Did
I
you
don't
just
know-
read
I don't know
that in
what
a
that
book
means.
today and thought it sounded
I don't-
cool? What does that mean?
I don't know what that means, but we're going to kill it. I think I see
Oh,
it
I
right
see it.
here.
I see it. It's the white thing right there. You see it?
Yeah. Level 1?
Wait. There it is. There it is. There it is. Shit. Skrrr, bap. Oh, what?
Wait, someone else will shoot.
Someone else shoot it? You loot it.
Hold on, I'm bleeding.
Where are you? And this leads into my next pro, which is the style of gameplay doesn't make it feel as grindy as other MMOs, and the atmosphere especially makes each quest feel a bit eerie, and it's not just as simple as run in, grab shit, leave. It's like, keep an eye out for enemies in tall grass and be alert, because you'll lose a fat chunk of health if you get jumped, which will happen quite regularly because visibility isn't as good due to the environment, a really dark night cycle, and first-person mode. It's just hard to see anything in this game, and the fact that the monsters generate next to no noise can lead to some moments where you wish it was okay to wear diapers as a 24-year-old, even just during a simple fetch quest. And you definitely do not notice this as much during the daytime, but at nighttime this adds so much tension to the experience. So the next pro is the option between PvP and PvE servers. Awesome, I'm in the apocalypse! You will be my dog meat. I'm a real player, bro. Fetch, doggy! I chose PvP, and I'm sort of happy I did, because most players I've encountered don't seem interested in killing me. So then I kill them because PvP, bitch! I'm just kidding, I'm a nice guy. But real talk, it seems like the kind of game that players would be attacking each other all the time because it's so easy, you literally just fire at someone and that's all she wrote. And almost the whole map is PvP enabled if you are in a PvP server. But I've run into a ton of players and none have fired at me except for one dickhead. I haven't even noticed other players getting fired at unless it was by me, but obviously this is just my experience with players and it doesn't count for everyone's experience. And you'll find posts like this where I'm thinking to myself, I'm just one of these shitty stories away from this being a very different video fueled by hatred. And cue the flashlights, and engage in the teabag, maintain flashlights, and chorus. And flashlight middling. Yes, bitch, yes. Fire. Oh, where are you going? Come back, bitch. But alas, in my experience, players have been pretty great about the no griefing thing. And my last pro, which kind of ties into the pros I've already mentioned, the feeling of tedium you get from these incredibly typical fetch quests that you've experienced in every other MMORPG takes a bit longer to dawn on you just because of the gameplay. I mean, it literally feels like you're playing Stalker or DayZ or any of those fun post-apocalyptic Chernobyl type games. Fetch quests are fetch quests, suck my left nut fetch quests. But because of the tension of the gameplay and the game world and that fear factor, there's a significant difference in how you approach a Will to Live quest and a World of Warcraft quest. For instance, you have to go and collect mushrooms from a field. Wow, this'll be easy, you say to yourself. You get to the field and it's like if a very hairy man pulls down his pants in the locker room and you think, wow, the hair on your back and chest pales in comparison to what you've got going on down there. Kill me now. I'm pretty sure that made no sense, but when you get to the field with the mushrooms, it's packed with very dense foliage. Suddenly, it's not a typical run in and grab shit and leave. Instead, it's a run in, hear the skittering of radiated rats nearby, run out, tell yourself drinking milk even though you know you're lactose intolerant, combined with this quest, might lead to a messy situation. But hey, 100 experience points, even though you need 4,000 to level freaking MMOs. So you run in, your screen facing the ground, trying to find these horribly small mushrooms. Meanwhile, a colony of rats is built up behind you and you don't even know it because you thought you were being so stealthy, but no. They're injecting 5 pounds of rabies juice into your ass and you'll be able to hashtag twerk while thick for like 5 seconds before you die. Like in this game, if you go to an area and you know there's hostiles, you're gonna be on high alert, you're gonna be uncomfortable and nervous about what you choose to fire at, and that's how exploring and hunting feels in Will to Live. And it's a mixture of exhilarating because, wow, this is an MMORPG, this is fresh gameplay, and also frustrating because this still wasn't enough to make me get past the cons.
The guns.
I'll start by getting the quickest one out of the way, and that is the lack of story. There's not much to say about this because, well, there's not even really a story to critique, but there is a 6-minute video on Will to Live's official YouTube channel that serves as a history of the world, as stated in the title. It's a slightly cringy 2D cinematic, but in the actual game I found nothing to really feed the history of the world narrative. No pieces of lore to increase my immersion. While the 6-minute backstory video isn't uninteresting, one YouTube video doesn't do anything for me when I like to see a story mechanic implemented in the actual game, and Will to Live Online has nothing that I've seen. The next con is traversing the map for fetch quests. Deadass, I'm so tired of the walking simulator gameplay, and that's a direct quote from some of the users posting in the Will to Live forums. There's just too much downtime for no good reason. It feels like a typical session in Will to Live is 70% running to objective, 30% fun, and 30% is 20% below my average in college, and I was told that was even a bad percentage, so I hope that clears up that 30% is not a good percentage. Your character is also pretty squishy. It feels like if you chose the mage class in another MMO because your health gets melted. Now this point isn't a negative, but the spawn points are few and far between, so dying adds another several possible minutes of running back to the objective. Dying in this game sucks, and it has everything to do with the lack of spawn points. But it gets worse. If the creatures aren't clocking you, the game itself is like,
Brother, you haven't died recently. Is this mistake? No problem. Here you go.
and then it kills you. Observe. So do we just like search shit? Nope.
Please don't tell me I just stepped on the fire and died.
Did you just died?
Yeah, I just died.
What the how?
I don't know. I just died in there. I had like full health.
You'll notice the game wasn't literally talking to us when this happened, but everything else I said is true. I understand why there's no vehicles, but at least put performance-enhancing drugs in the game so we can sprint 10% faster. I'm betting you if there was a cash shop in this game, that shit would sell out. And it doesn't help that the world is pretty empty. You'll usually find nothing while running from point A to B. And honestly, it's not horrible that the world is empty because it's very lush and packed with foliage, which is kind of nice to look at. Think back to your DayZ days of running aimlessly, but just like DayZ, coming across the odd few buildings or small town doesn't completely dissolve that potential of feeling bored out of your mind after running around too much. Because not only is there almost no NPCs around, there's almost no structures or remains of civilization at all. The next con is going to wrap back around to fetch quests, specifically the ones asking you to find and collect ingredients, and those are beyond annoying and can be very hard to find, and you're competing with other players for these resources, so if someone takes one, you can't take the same one, and they just become way too annoying to be worth the small XP gain. Like, why is the XP gain so small for these? I just skipped them altogether. Fetch quests suck, but these are a special kind of evil. And those collection quests are probably the worst, but what comes to a close second is every other kind of quest in this game. There are quest chains that get you to go do the exact same thing you did in the quest right before it. So you cash one quest in, you get the exact same objective to go kill the same thing. Come on now, devs. What is this bull duty? I got 2 quests to kill boars back to back to collect different kind of drop items from their bodies. And then I get another quest to go kill more creatures, and guess what? I get to a completely different field and it's full of more boars. Nice. Real nice. So that came to like 4 quests to kill the same shit back to back. Why? Why? Who hurt you? The next con is probably the worst of the lot. There is literally zero excitement to leveling up in Will to Live. When you level up, nothing happens. You rarely gain skill points, which can be used to level up the most boring and simple skill tree ever, which boils down to increasing your damage with certain weapon types. And like I said, you don't get skill points very often. It's every few levels. Or at least this was the case for me because I only gained 1 skill point in my whole time playing and I reached level 8, but I posted a thread on the Will to Live Steam forums and a player responded saying you gain them every 2 levels, so I have no idea why he's gaining them faster than me or if it's a bug. Just in general, the character progression is poorly done, and I feel like every player ultimately has the same experience in this game. For Will to Live to claim it's an MMORPG is just downright misleading. What MMORPGs offer is unique ways to experience the game, level up, and develop your character. As of right now, neither myself or my friends' experience in Will to Live differed from one another's, and we chose completely different classes. In my experience, there has been no abilities, and my character primarily just fires a gun. You can knife people or fire a gun. There's not a lot of ways to diversify your character from other players. At best, this game has felt like an online open-world first-person shooter with some very light and basic MMO features. And to close out the cons, we've got one more thing for you. We as in just me, cause no, shit, what's happening? My brain's kerfuffling me. Upon investigation, apparently the questing is consistently shitty throughout the game, even at later levels. These are the most bare-bone, dull, and unsatisfying quest objectives I've ever seen. Every MMORPG seems to have these quests for the new player stages, the worst fetch quests, and then they become a bit more interesting as you go. In Will to Live, it's like you're permanently doing noob zone quests. Zero intrigue, incredibly mundane objectives. Kill this, collect that. You read the Steam forums and experienced players are complaining it's the same old boring shit to do in higher levels. I mentioned the style of gameplay can keep the quests interesting, and this is true. It's the only reason I kept playing as long as I did. But relying on this to drive your experience is hit and miss because there are plenty of quests you'll go and do where nothing interesting will happen. Whew, the ass tearing is over, Will to Live. You may pull your pants back up. Closing thoughts. Will to Live Online could have capitalized on a genre completely void of an intriguing post-apocalyptic experience, and grabbed hold of that large audience hoping for a game world based in such an environment. But Will to Live Online doesn't really present itself as the solution in its current state, because of the boring leveling grind that I spent 9.5 hours trudging through, and the majority of the game world being desolate of excitement. I understand that I am a newer player and my experience may not define the game as a whole, especially in the high levels, but I feel that if the game hasn't changed much, if at all, between the first hour and the 9th hour, then I begin to wonder how long I'll have to do this monotonous grind before I can start having fun. The ultimate question for every game is, do the pros outweigh the cons? Is there enough there to make it worth enduring those little or big frustrations that can hamper the fun? In my almost 10-hour adventure, I didn't feel like I could give a thumbs up in these areas. And while I've decided Will to Live isn't a game I will continue to play in its current state, there is a good foundation here for it to be developed into a fun MMO. Certain things feel like they need a complete overhaul, like character skills and progression, so each player has a unique experience compared to others. The quests need to be more engaging than the most simple of fetch quests. The world needs more oomph, more potential of excitement when you go exploring. What I'm trying to say here is Will to Live isn't even close to a lost cause, because what is already here feels like the groundwork for what could be a great game. I truly enjoyed the first 3 hours of this game, because until I started realizing the problems, it felt like a game I could get immersed in if I ignored this super amazing translation issue. It offered a tense experience that I've never experienced in other MMOs because of that underlying creepy stalker vibe. So in closing, Will to Live is a game I'd happily revisit in maybe 6 months from now. In its current state, I think there's a lot here to deter players from making the long-term commitment, but that's the big problem. MMORPGs are meant to be long-term commitments. So keep an eye out for Will to Live's updates because the developers seem pretty great so far, and I'm expecting some good reasons to jump back into this game down the road. Thank you guys for watching. Consider hitting that subscribe button. I've been getting pretty good channel growth lately, and I just wanted to thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart for deciding to stick around with me. It truly means a lot. If you want to get in touch with me, just drop a comment or hit me up on Twitter. I'll leave my link in the description. Alright, take care.